Hey, ISM family. We are here with another Tuesday Talk, and we're joined by someone familiar to the ISM family.
Come on.
So Todd Nyerges is joining us from his dorm room, essentially. So
As you see.
that's where he sleeps up there. So
That,
not really,
that's right. That's right.
but yeah, so Todd was my very first intern and
That's right.
first student that came through and was called into ministry here with my time here at Emmanuel. So Todd, thank you so much for jumping on here, doing a Zoom call with us. You know, you're not a I know that you're a busy man, you know, with all the stuff you're doing down in Columbus.
That's true, man. It never ends. So today's the first day of our summer. So we just wrapped up classes yesterday, and there's still some big things to come. So it keeps on coming, but there's a lot of perks in this time of this pandemic too. A lot of calmness, you can say, and peace.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about, pandemic stuff in our Tuesday talks with other people and as we move forward, we're pretty much out of the stay home order. Things are starting to open back up now. Things are starting to, we're starting to kind of move back into some type of normal life, So I want to kind of switch directions, not necessarily talk about COVID or anything with you, but really just want to talk about your ministry journey, because I think it's really important for us, especially for students. You were that student in high school. You didn't know what you were going to do with your life.
Man.
You were not doing very well, with different things in life. And God just really took a hold of your heart your senior year, and you really, felt the call of God on your life and different things. And so could you speak a little to, just kind of explain your, ministry journey, where you started and what are some steps along the way that as you stepped out, like some different things that God has revealed to you as you continue to go towards it. And then even now to where you're at, SEU, Ohio, one more year left before you graduate, like all that stuff, like getting ready to go into the ministry fields like full time, as opposed to, just volunteering or being, whatever that looks like. But just to kind of tell us a little bit about your ministry journey.
Wow, man. Well, it's definitely been a journey. That's the right word for sure. Well, if we were to bring it all back, it was senior year where, things started to shift for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always had a passion for sports. I thought I was going to be the next general manager of the Cleveland Indians and make millions of dollars, That's what I wanted to do. But so I ended up going to community college at Tri-C, spent a couple years there, knocked out some gen eds. And then through that, I found my call to ministry. But it really all started through me getting to intern under you and serve with you. So you instilled in me really, what it means to be a Christian man, not a boy, a man. And so you instilled a servant's mentality in me. And, we're great friends now through the years. What is it? Four and a half years now, feels like I've known you way longer than that. But really, it's just been it's been awesome, my time here at SEU. I'm going in my third year here at SEU. But to back up a little bit, I felt, for me, I never had like the altar call experience like a lot of people do, which God moves that way. But for me, it was, Todd, what do you see yourself doing? Like what would bring you satisfaction, knowing when you're dead in your casket, people are walking by saying their goodbyes to you. What's that one thing you would want people, to remember you by? And I said, for me, it was, I want people to know, like, I want to be that bridge for someone to come to know Jesus, and so obviously I don't have to be in ministry to do that, but through like some of my abilities and all that, I thought I would fit well in a ministry role. And so you kind of helped me unlock that. Like, man, I used to be super antisocial, hate talking to people, and super shy. And now, it's just a 180, man. It's crazy just to see how introverted Todd became extroverted Todd. Love being with the people. I have a heart for students and seeing them grow. And I'm so excited to see, your students at Emmanuel right now, which I've had the honor of serving with you with them. And seeing them, take leadership roles at a young age, like they're plugged in Youth Alive, raising money for Speed the Light, being very sacrificial with their time in order to see the kingdom forever change. So, props to you for your leadership, man. They got a great youth pastor in Cleveland. So, yeah, definitely, it's good over there. Things are good.
Well,
doing it well.
Thank you for that. We had talked. I remember one of our, we had a few Chipotle talks, kind of thing where we just go and sit at Chipotle on Bagley Road and just eat Chipotle outside and talk about life and where we're going. And I remember you saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I just really want to be involved in church, whatever that looks like. I really want to just serve the church in some way. And, this whole conversation that we're having isn't necessarily to sit there and be like, hey, look at how great Pastor Galen is, kind of like doing that, but just really that understanding of, man, like you accepted the call, and it's so important for us because I had pastors in my life that I can look to and be like, man, I remember, Chris Davis, Kendall Alfaro, Eric Porter, all these different people that had poured into me that had really, are the reason why I'm in ministry, because they saw it even before I saw it, and there's some things too, where, we've had conversations where I felt like, man, this guy might be called into ministry, but I didn't say anything because
I know you didn't tell me.
But it's one of those things, for us that we really have to sit there and say, okay, if I say, hey, I think you're called into ministry, is that me calling you, or is that God calling you?
Exactly.
And I'll back up God with whatever, if God's kind of like, yeah, this guy might be called in ministry, I'm going to wait until God actually calls you and be like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me, kind of thing. And that's it. So, man, loved having you as my first intern. We had a lot of growing time, a lot of growing periods for both of us.
We're still growing.
I was just, I was a young kid. I still am a young kid, but
you're wise.
I was young whenever I was, I think I was 22 when you became my intern. So 22 and a 19-year-old intern. And so it was definitely a big shift learning wise for me and for you. And, what are some things in your internship that you learned that like you feel like you'll take with you, like through, any ministry, whether that's, hey, God's called me to youth. Hey, God's called me to be a lead pastor. Hey, God's called me to be, missionary, whatever that looks like. What are some things that you'd say, man, this really, this is something that will mark my ministry forever?
Yeah. I would say two things. First thing is the mentality of leaders leading, right? That's something that always has been instilled in my head. Leaders always lead, right? They lead by example. So that means, taking part in things that you don't want to do, but you have to do anyways because you're a leader, And so that quote, was it, what followers do and what leaders do in moderation, followers do in excess. Like as leaders, we have to lead by example in every way, because if you're trying to lead, like, you're a youth pastor, you're trying to lead others, trying to get your leaders to pour into students, you have to be able to lead by example with them, because if you're setting a horrible tone for them, nothing good is going to come out of that. So that's the biggest thing, is like, you have to lead by example, and not just by the words that you say. Like the words that you preach, you better be backing them up with your actions, right? It's so important. Secondly is intentionality, coming like from a youth pastor perspective, like intentionality with investing into your students, like going to their games, reaching out to them through phone call, if there's a need, address that need, whatever that is. So just being open to being relational, not just closing it off to, I'm just talking to you on Wednesday nights or Sunday mornings, but showing that, they have a brother, they have a youth pastor that loves and cares for them. That's so important for a student to see that. Like, I remember when I was still technically your student for a little bit, you came to my graduation, and like, dude, I saw you. We were in Cleveland State. We're at the Wolstein Center, and I see you all the way up there. I think you're right in the middle section, and I just spotted you out of nowhere. I didn't even know you were coming, and then we met up afterwards, and that meant the world to me. It's the presence, just being present. Is so meaningful and so impactful in the life of a student, and like even leaders too. So, I mean, equipping your leaders is definitely essential too. But intentionality is huge. I would say what I've learned is keeping it relational, being intentional, making it known that you love them, not just through words, but through your actions as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, we always talk about, show up. That's the whole heart of being intentional is just you showing up, because when you show up for the high times, they'll want you to show up for the low times, kind of thing.
Perfect.
So, absolutely. What are some so moving past, internship, get out of Tri-C, now you spread your wings, move to Columbus, abandoned all the Cleveland people. But what are some things, that you've learned now? I know that you did some practicum with one church, you're doing a practicum with Adventure Church, did a practicum with OIM, different things like that. So what are some things that you've learned now, or how's your ministry journey going now? Is this more like okay, now I know, now that I have 1 year left, or whatever that looks like it's preparation for what's next? Or is it, there's some different things that I've grown in, just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think throughout all the practicums that I've been in with OIM, One Church, Adventure Church, who I'm with right now, I think a big thing that it's come down to is making sure to master spiritual disciplines. This is the time to master it. We could say the basics, like every day in prayer, reading your Bible every day, but those are things that we say, but we neglect to really do consistently. And so, leaders lead, so we need to be leading by example in that. So I think really being in these internships and these practicums have pushed me to be more consistent, in the word, or make that attempt. Because, I still fall short in that category, like I need to do more, always more. And so, through that, it's really pushed me to grow. And so, like right now, I guess, with Adventure Church, we're doing the online service like everyone else right now. So we're doing a premiere, so like the Facebook premiere thing. So I've been stretched in the sense I've been helping Pastor Chad and Cherish out every week when it comes to announcements. I'm slated to preach a few times, so definitely I'm getting more reps, you could say, pastoral reps. But I think throughout this whole thing, it's just preparing me for what's to come, because, I'm aspiring to do full-time ministry very soon. And so, I mean, I've got 25 credit hours left that separates me from graduation here at SCU with my bachelor's. So I'm just trying to collect every little token of knowledge I can through all the people I've encountered, Pastor Nate, Pastor Chad, Pastor Ryan, all these people around me that, I see in the OMN building. Like, that's another thing I just want to plug. SCU, like, if you come to SCU, you have connection after connection. I mean, you're right there with Nate Ortiz, DYD, John Wooten. Like, you see him every day. Like, I remember when I was a student, I was like, oh, that's Nate Ortiz, or like, that's Tom Grote, the DYD. And like, now you would see them every day. It's like no big deal, but to be able to like have them pour into us is so meaningful. So that's definitely some ways that I've grown through the practicum experience. So definitely preparation for what's to come.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, plug for SEU Ohio. It's
always,
it's one of those very unique schools where you are working side by side with a network, so it's like, I have no doubt that Todd Nyerges has a job placement after he graduates, as if you are a quality student and Ohio wants to keep quality students, then then they'll find you a place, kind of
Right.
thing. And that's really awesome, especially, now that we're moving forward with this Ohio for Jesus and church planting and all these different things. Like, Ohio's going to need young pastors. We're going to need old pastors too, but we're going to need more pastors. SU Ohio is such a great opportunity for that.
Absolutely.
Learn and do that stuff. So, Dave Pafford, there's your shameless plug for you.
He's the man. Love Dave.
SU Ohio. But so kind of talking, let's say student, what's one thing or a couple of things that you wish you could tell your younger self as you're like wrestling with your calling? So like, as you're going through your calling, as you're in your calling, what are some things that, man, you wish that you had known? You'd wish that you'd be like, man, I wish that I had learned this. Because there's a lot of things that we can really study. We can read every book there is on youth ministry, but nothing prepares us for real world experiences. Like it doesn't, and that's kind of thing. We can, books will help us navigate real world experiences better, but it's not necessarily saying that, there's things that have happened here. I've only been here for 4.5 years. There's things here that have happened, and I'm like, they never prepared us for that. Even what we're in now, with online services and all this stuff, they don't prepare you for this.
It doesn't matter how many books you read. It's all about the live experiences. I mean, you learn when you're in your position, but I would say definitely something that has been could you read the question one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. No problem. So what are some things that you would tell a student who's like wrestling with whether or not they're called into ministry? So, we have a few students in our church that are called to ministry. And so what are some things that you would tell them, be like, hey, this is what you need to do, as opposed to not just like, hey, go to SU Ohio, but like just for them, their heart, their character, as they're building that foundation of ministry. What are some things you'd say to them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So something that I jokingly kind of say, but kind of mean is don't throw out the idea of community college, because save money on prerequisite classes, hopefully come out debt free. But anyways, that alone, I think a big thing to do is to, be intentional with trying to hear from God. And I think the way that you do that is by embracing silence, by taking in silence, right? To hear from God. So it's so easy to get caught up in our phones and social media. It's so easy to listen to what our parents should say, what we should do. But really, are you taking the time to be intentional in prayer with God to hear from him? That's so important. So I would say setting intentional time of listening to nothing. Maybe it's like playing some worship music in the back. I don't know what that is for you, but just by blocking out all the noise, blocking it all out, and just listening to what God has for you. And like, it's not like you're going to hear necessarily an audible voice, but you'll have a hunch. Like I always knew for me at community college, like there was a hunch that I should be in ministry, but like I just shoved it away, but it was through serving in the church that helped me to discover my calling. It was through serving, right? As I said before, it wasn't the altar call experience. It was through serving in the church. I found a love for the church as the body of Christ, and a heart for his people. And so through that, I would say just silence and having an ear to listen, and also getting plugged in and serving is huge.
Awesome. That's awesome. Cool. So just a couple more questions here, and then we'll
sure.
But just what is, right now, what would be a challenge to a student who's pursuing their calling, and they're just feeling like, the world is crumbling around them, all these different things, or even, or I guess let's state a better question, because you kind of just answered that. But as far as like a student who is pursuing their calling, you talk about, serving and different stuff like that, and different things. What are some ways, for them to develop their gifts in ministry, through serving or whatever that looks like?
Right. So I mean, it is serving. It's simply getting plugged into, so like whether it's a Wednesday night thing, it's you empower a student to talk about why do we give our tithe and offering. You give them speaking opportunities. If they're ready to preach, it's up to the youth pastor and the leaders to equip them to exercise their gifts, right? And so I'd say also for like Sunday experience, whatever that is, like being an usher, that's first impressions, that's being on production. It's simply just getting plugged in. It's one of those Nike things. You just do it. You just do it. And so another thing to help, I guess, get equipped in ministry, I guess, would be, read books. I'd say I love, leadership books. And so, man, I can't speak English today, but I think it's always good just to seek wisdom from other people you don't know. Like for me, this is a YouTube thing, but I'm a big Francis Chan guy. I love Francis Chan. Oh man, he's ministered to me throughout me pursuing ministry. I haven't even met the guy, but I'd say find someone that ministers to you. Of course, you're dedicated first to your home church and your pastor, but find something else like a book or someone on YouTube that you can listen to that can help you throughout the week. So those are a couple things for you.
That's good. That's good. And what's one thing? So talked about ministry, different things like that. Shift back to COVID because it's still around, right?
It's still here.
Still here. What's one thing that you've learned, in your time of stay-home order or whatever that looks like through this? Like, how have you grown in your walk with God?
Right. Definitely. So I was reading in the book of James not long ago, and it says faith without works is dead. We most people know about that. And so as I was kind of meditating and thinking about that, I thought, where do I need resurrecting in my life? Where do I need resurrection? And I know like that's not completely what the verse is meaning, but to me, I thought of like something that is dead. Like there's plenty of dry bones, dead things in our bodies or dead things in our lives that, that we need to revive, that needs resurrected. And so I thought, Todd, what are some things that during this time you can resurrect? What do I need resurrected in my life? And so like, it could be simple things like, I need to get into a physical routine. Like I need to go on runs. I need to check for my physical well-being. I need to get into the word of God, consistently, get an accountability person to keep me accountable in the word. Cleaning. I mean, I got an apartment for a while. I had an apartment to myself with another buddy, and all the roommates again, we had to keep cleaning. So point is, there's so many things that will run dry. It's easy to run dry in this time of this pandemic with being alone, not working. Like I've been out of a job for a month and a half now, and I'm not planning. I don't think I'm gonna get called back till June. So it's easy just when you're doing nothing, for your mind to go left and right, go all over the place. But it's creating healthy habits. So for me, it's been, as I said earlier, mastering those spiritual disciplines, devoting your time in prayer, devoting your time in the word of God, being intentional with those things and the relationships that you have all around you. So, and I'm still a work in progress. I've never figured it out, and I probably never will completely, but that's the power of the Lord for sure. I'll be all good. I'll be okay. So, bottom line, find things that need resurrecting in my life. Where in my life needs resurrecting? So those are a few things that I've been kind of shuffling with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then final question, what's one thing you're looking forward to the most in full-time ministry? So for you, you're preparing, almost done, probably people knocking at the door, in line. I want Todd Nyerges to be my youth. all these different things. But what's one thing that you're like, man, I can't wait until I get to do this as a youth pastor?
Oh, dude, I can't wait to see students grow in their giftings and their callings. That's the biggest thing. Like I literally have tears in my eyes when I see some of my fellow students here at SU like preach for the first time. Like my buddy Kyle, he's over doing big things at C3, and we went to go see his first sermon last year, and I bawled. I'm like, it's something special to me. When you invest into someone or someone really well, it's like you felt like you have a tiny part of that. It's all Jesus, but at the same time, you've helped push that student in that direction. And so I look at, students from your youth ministry that, I've had the opportunity to pour into, and they're doing big things. Like, it's just amazing just to see, where they were and where they've come from. You see the redemption story, and it's cool to see God at work, but it takes time. It's not instant. It usually is not instant. And so it's cool I cannot wait to have my own students one day and just see the transformation take place in their lives, and them be faithful servants of the Lord every day for the rest of their lives. So that's man, I could tear up now thinking about it. That's where my heart lies with all this. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for being a part of this Tuesday talk.
Yeah.
It's kind of on a lighter side of things as far as, different stuff, but thank you so much for sharing kind of your ministry journey and where you're at and different things. It's one of those things where you probably got the itch to be done. And I understand that was, my senior year of college. I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to, I'm ready to be done and ready. But just encouragement for you, continue to, enjoy those little moments where you're at and just soak up everything you can. You talk about it all the time. Like, I want to be a sponge. That's exactly who you are. You are a sponge, and you just soak up everything around you. You watch everything around you. You've always been that way. So man, continue to do that, and excited to see what God's going to do in and through you as you continue in this and become a full-time pastor and all that stuff. And awesome things, man. But you're killing it at SEU. You're doing a great job with Adventure Church and with your students, and so super proud of you. ISM family is proud of you. You're the very first ISM family pastor, that has come out of our ISM family. So first of many, but that's awesome, man.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being on.
Hey, thanks for letting me come on. I feel honored to be able to even have this time with you on the Zoom call. So I'm grateful, and I hope that this can be an encouragement for you students listening to this. So thanks again, Pastor Galen, for letting me on, and keep doing your thing in Cleveland, man. You're killing it. You're killing the game, and I'm so proud to call you my brother. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Well, students, that's it. Tuesday Talk, another one in the books. So we are going to be back next week with another Tuesday Talk. So don't miss that. But this Thursday night, 7 p.m., still doing our Zoom call Devos. So be a part of that. Love to see you there. Love you all. Praying for you. And we'll see you next time. Have a great Tuesday.